Passengers on board.
Hello, Cap. My name is Linda. I am your first officer today.
Hello, Linda. How are you?
I am fine, thank you.
I believe this is your first time flying with me, so I'll explain what I'm doing throughout the entire flight. Okay, today we are flying from Queretaro, Mexico, Mexico City, Mexico. That's MMQT to MMMX. The approach into Mexico City is very challenging because it is a high altitude airport at 7,300 feet, and the airport is surrounded by mountains. The approach into Mexico City also involves numerous steep descent segments. All right, let's get the cockpit lighting the way I like it. And let's check out the camera, see what's going on behind the cockpit doors. Everything looks good. Let's go up to the overhead. Panel lighting to 100%. And the circuit breaker lights to 100%. Turn on the windshield wipers on low. Okay, let's go over the tablet here. And let's look at our flight plan. MMQT to MMMX. Okay, we take off from MMQT, fly to D122L, and PITUS, and DARAN, and then Duran is the first waypoint in this complicated star. It takes us down into the approach into Mexico City, runway 05 right. And notice there's a 90-degree intercept, 90-degree angle there. So we'll have to cut that short, otherwise we'll overshoot the localizer. It's a very short final. Okay, let's search for information on our our departure airport, MMQT. And let's look at the 10-9 airport info chart. Okay, so we are right here on the tarmac. We need to take taxiway Alpha 1 until we get to taxiway Golf. And taxiway Alpha, hold short of runway 09. It has a true heading of 094 degrees. So the ATIS for this airport is 128.7. Okay, let's look for our departure procedures out of MMQT for runway 09. So basically we fly runway heading and then we fly towards PITUS. Alright, let's search for information on our destination, MMMX. And let's look at our arrival procedures, specifically the Duran 2A, 10-2 chart. So yes, this is the Duran star. Start out at Duran. We go to MX750, MX752, MX754, MX756, ALMIS, MX717, and then SUTAS. It's quite the complicated star, and that's of course caused by the mountains. You can see right here we have a mountain at 14,800 feet that we have to fly next to. Alright, let's go look at the 10-9 airport info chart for Mexico City. Okay, we're planning on landing on runway 05 right. It has a true heading of 055 degrees. And that runway is 13,432 feet long. And the ATIS here is 127.65. Okay, let's look at the approach chart for runway 05 right.
Southwest 1203, cleared runway 7.
Be the 11-1 ILSZ runway 05 right. Okay, the localizer frequency is 109.1. Station name is IMWX. The final approach course is 055 degrees. We must be at 8,900 feet when we fly over MX 900. Right here, we intercept the glide slope. And the decision height is 274 feet. The runway elevation is 7,292 feet. Okay, let's listen to the ATIS here for Mexico City.
Queretaro Intercontinental Information MiG. 000 Zulu weather. Wind calm, RVR 3300, rain. Sky conditions 600 overcast, temperature 17, dew point 19. Altimeter 2975. Arriving runway 27, departing runway 27. Advise on initial contact you have MiG.
Okay, we have Mike. Let's go back to the tower at 118.950. And let's set our baro to 29.75. Okay, let's turn on the flight directors. And let's file our flight plan. Okay, we're flying from MMQT to MMMX at 17,000 feet. Let's insert our flight plan and request our IFR clearance. Queretaro Tower, good evening. Zibo 7378 request IFR clearance to Mexico City as filed.
Zibo 7378, clear to Licenciado Benito Juarez via runway 09er departure. Initial altitude 11,000 feet. Squawk 2746.
Cleared to Mexico City via runway 09er departure. Initial altitude 11,000 feet. Squawk 2746. Zibo 7378. Okay, let's set our transponder to 2746.
Zibo 7378, read back correct. Contact me again for startup. Set the transponder code 2746 as instructed.
Okay, our clearance altitude is 11,000 feet. And our runway heading was 094. And let's set our bank limit to 30 degrees. And let's turn on heading mode. Okay, let's go down to the CDU. And with the FMC menu, the position and net menu, we are at MMQT. That's the route key. And that is also our origin, MMQT. Our destination is MMMX. And our flight number is Zibo. 7378. 7378. 7378. 7378. 7378. 7378. 7378. 7378. 7378. 7378. 7378. 7378. 7378. 7378. 7378. 7378. 7378. 7378. 7378. 7378. 7378. 7378. 7378. 7378. 7378. 7378. 7378. 7378. 7378. 7378. 7378. 7378. 7378. 7378. 7378. 7378. 7378. 7378. 7378. 7378. 7378. 7378. 7378. 7378. 7378. 7378. 7378. 7378. 7378. 7378. 7378. 7378. 7378. 7378. 7378. 7378. 7378. 7378. 7378. 7378. 7378. 7378. 7378. 7378. 7378. 7378. 7378. 7378. 7378. 7378. 7378. 7378. 7378. 7378. 7378. 7378. 7378. 7378. 7378. 7378. 7378. 7378. 7378. 7378. 7378. 7378. 7378. 7378. 7378. 7378. 7378. 7378. 7378. 7378. 7378. 7378. Okay, let's go into the departure arrival page. Let's select the departure out of MMQT. It's going to be runway 09, and it'll be the PETUS 1. SID. Okay, let's go into route. Departure arrival, the MMMX arrival. It's going to be ILS Z05 right, and it's the DAR A2A star. Okay, let's press route, activate, and execute. Let's go back to the tablet, go to the home page, go into fuel weight and balance. Our payload for this flight is going to be 2,300 pounds. Go to page 1. Okay, our fuel's around 25,000 pounds. Takeoff weight CG is 20.9%. Okay, let's go into the performance landing page. We're planning on landing on runway 05 right. It's going to be wet. Our flaps are going to be 40. Our landing weight's about 100,000 pounds. And so let's go with auto brakes 1. That should give us plenty of safety margin. Yeah, that should be good. And let's bring up the approach plate for future reference. Okay, let's go back to the CDU. Go into the performance init page. Autofill our zero fuel weight. Set our reserves to 2,000 pounds. Cost index is 60. And our cruise altitude is flight level 170. And our cruise winds 284 degrees at 11 knots. ISA deviation is 3 degrees. Okay, let's press the execute key. Okay, we have a steep descent after SUTAS, steep descent after MX717, and a steep descent after ALMIS. Okay, let's go into the N1 limit page. Autofill our outside air temperature, it's 17 degrees Celsius. Okay, let's go with a 26K takeoff, which gives us an N1 of 100.7. Let's go into the takeoff page. Our takeoff flaps are going to be 5 degrees. Autofill our CG is 20.9%. Gives us a stab trim of 5.0. Okay, that gives us a V1 of 126, a V rotate of 127, and a V2 of 135. Okay, let's check our flight plan for discontinuities. Yeah, let's put Duran into the scratch pad and then paste it in. Press execute. Okay, our flight plan looks good. Let's look at it on the MFD. Switch over here to plan mode. And let's set the 20 degrees, 20 nautical mile range. Okay, let's step through our flight plan. Okay, there's D122L, PITUS, Duran, MX750, MX752, MX754, MX756, ALMIS, MX717, SUTAS, MX901, MX 900, and then runway 05 right. All right, our flight plan looks good. Let's go up here to the overhead. Our flight altitude is 17,000 feet. Our landing altitude is 7,300. Okay, that all looks good. Okay, Linda, runway turnoff lights on.
Runway turn-off lights on.
Taxi lights on.
Taxi lights on.
Wing lights on.
Wing lights on.
Beacon light on.
Already on.
Okay, let's set flaps to 5 degrees.
Okay, the cabin is secured. Have a good flight.
And Spirit 914, can you confirm 133.3 or 23? 133.3. 133.3 now.
Flaps 5 set.
Okay, let's switch over to the radio stack here, and that's in our VOR frequency for MEX VOR 115.90. And then the ILS is 109.10. And 11590. And then 109.10. Okay, our radios are all set. Let's put our V2 value of 135 into the airspeed reference. And let's arm the auto throttle. Before taxi procedure.
Before taxi procedure. Before taxi procedure complete. I am ready for before taxi checklist.
Before taxi checklist.
Before taxi checklist. Generators. On. Probe heat. On. Anti-ice. Wing anti-ice off. Engine anti-ice off. Isolation valve. Auto. Engine start switches. Continuous. Recall.
Checked.
Checked. Auto brake. Rejected takeoff. Engine start levers.
Idle detent.
Idle detent. Flight control.
Okay, let's bring up the flight control page. Elevator. Left aileron. Right aileron. Left rudder. And right rudder.
Okay, clear to Liberia, runway 7, Nacho 3 Lima. Climb maintain 18,000, 18,000.
Checked.
Flight plan route as filed, squawk 0544
Checked.
and 120.5. Left.
Flaps.
Flaps 5.
Flaps 5 set. Green light. Detent. Ground equipment.
1079er, good morning, clear to Newark. Go ahead with Romeo, departing runway 07, RNAV departure, Angel 3, Romeo transition, upper Bravo 767, Puerto Cabezas, upper Zulu 751, Telex, then as filed, climb to 18,000 feet, Rex 340, climb to Rex 4665, and departure frequency Solo Road.
Clear.
Clear. Before taxi checklist complete. Ready for taxi.
Set stabilizer for takeoff.
Trim up.
Correct. Let's continue our approach plus 10 or 11. 10, 1079. Okay, got it. Thank you so much.
Okay, let's switch over here to map mode. And let's request taxi. Queretaro Tower, Zibo 7378 is ready for taxi.
Zibo 7378, taxi to runway 09er. Call me when on holding point.
Taxi to runway 09er. Contact the tower when on holding point. Zibo 7378. Okay, let's release the parking brake. Taxi straight ahead.
JetBlue 1696. JetBlue 1696, stand by. JetBlue 1696, clear to Orlando. Runway 25, Angel 4, Romeo departure, over Bravo 767 on files.
Okay, we're on taxiway A1. We're going to take a left onto taxiway Gulf.
Just hear the squawk. What's the squawk? 4631. Okay, we're cleared to Orlando, here runway 25, Angel 4, Romeo, upper Bravo 767, as filed 180, and then the squawk is 4631, I believe.
Okay, now we're going to take a right up here onto taxiway Alpha.
Correct, JetBlue 1696, report ready to engine starting. We'll go.
Okay, we stay on taxiway Alpha until we get to the holding point for runway 09er. It's clear at the end.
Hello, JetBlue 8094, stand by. JetBlue 8094, ready to copy the Kennedy.
Cabin crew,
Go ahead,
take your seats, prepare for takeoff.
JetBlue 8094, cleared to JFK by runway 25 departure, Angel 4 Romeo, upper Bravo 767, Papa Zulu Alpha then as filed, environment maintain 18,000 feet under quarter divine, squawk 4612, departure frequency 120.5. Cleared to Kennedy via runway 25 via the Angel 4 departure, Romeo transition, Sweden, upper Bravo 767, Papa Bravo, and we plan initially to 18,000 feet of the further advice, 1612.5 and 120.5 departure. JetBlue 8094, read correct before ready to engine and start employment.
Okay, let's hold short here at runway 09. Set the parking brake. Landing lights on. Beacon light on.
Already on.
Okay. Before takeoff procedure.
Before takeoff procedure.
Ready clearance. FedEx 56, roger that. Clear to Memphis, runway 25, 924 uniform, upper Alpha 502, Mike 12 Alpha as filed, climb and maintain.
Before takeoff procedure complete. Ready for before takeoff checklist.
Before takeoff checklist.
Before takeoff checklist. Flaps.
Flaps 5.
Flaps 5 set. Green light. Detent. Stabilizer trim. 50 units set. Transponder. TARA set. Before takeoff checklist complete.
Okay, let's request takeoff. Contact the tower and request takeoff. Queretaro Tower, Zibo 7378 on holding point of runway 09er, ready for departure.
Zibo 7378, wind is calm, runway 09er, cleared for takeoff.
Cleared for takeoff, runway 09er, Zibo 7378. Alright, let's turn on the terrain radar. And over here, let's turn on the weather radar. Okay, let's release the parking brake. Taxi on to runway 09er.
Runway 09 confirmed. I am ready for takeoff.
Okay, let's set the parking brake. Turn on the cockpit timer. Let's verify we have symmetrical thrust.
I'd like to put a request runway 07. Roger.
Stabilized.
Okay, let's release the parking brake and toga.
Takeoff thrust set.
Cross check.
Throttle hold. V1. Rotate.
Rotate.
Positive rate.
Gear up.
Gear up.
Zibo 7378, altimeter 29.74. Contact Mexico Center on 126.600. Bye.
Acceleration altitude.
Altimeter 29.74. Contact Mexico Center on 126.600. Goodbye, Zibo 778. Okay, let's contact Mexico Center on 126.600, and let's make our initial call. Mexico Center, good evening. Zibo 7378 at 8,200 feet, climbing to 11,000 feet.
Zibo 7378, turn right heading 130, climb to 11,000 feet.
Turn right heading 130, climb to 11,000 feet. Zibo 7378. Okay, let's speed up to 200 knots.
Heading 320. Left turn 320.
Go flaps 2.
Flaps 2 set.
Flaps 1.
Flaps 1 set. Flight level 100.
1,000 to go.
Landing lights switches off. 1,000
And
to
flaps
level
out.
off.
After takeoff checklist.
Flaps up set. After takeoff checklist. Engine bleeds. On. Packs. Auto. Landing gear. Up and off. Flaps. Up. No light. Detent. After takeoff checklist down to the line complete.
Unrestricted climb to flight level 320, United 1097.
Zibo 7378, climb to 17,000 feet.
Climb to 17,000 feet. Zibo 7378. Okay, we change our pre-selector here to 17,000. Alright, let's speed up to 240 knots. And let's turn the windshield wipers off since we're above the weather. Okay, let's set our decision height at 274 feet. And let's go into the net reference page here and set our landing data. It's going to be flaps 40, 128 knots. Alright, we just flew over the... So we're 7.6 nautical miles away from PITUS.
Zibo 7378, turn right heading 144.
Turn right heading 144, Zibo 7378.
1000 to level off.
1000 to go.
Zibo 7378. Expect runway 05 right.
Expect runway 05 right, Zibo 7378. Okay, our next waypoint is Duran, D-A-R-A-N. All right, let's turn towards our next waypoint. Just MX 750. Descent procedure.
Descent procedure. Descent procedure complete.
Okay, let's complete the approach briefing. We're gonna land on, fly the ILS-Z, approach into runway 05 right. Localizer frequency is 109.1. Final approach course is 055 degrees. Need to be at 8,900 feet when we fly over MX 900. Our decision height is 274 feet, and our runway elevation is 7,292 feet. And we're going to do flaps 40 with a VREF of 128. And notice there's a 90-degree angle here. We'll have to cut that short, or we'll overshoot the localizer. Okay, let's slow down to 180 knots in preparation for our descent. Okay, let's go flaps 1. Flaps 2.
Ready for descent checklist.
Flaps 5. And flaps 10. Descent checklist.
Descent checklist. Pressurization.
Landing altitude.
Flaps 10 set. Transition level. Ready for approach checklist. Gear up.
Landing altitude.
Landing altitude 7,300 set. Recall.
Checked.
Auto brake.
Auto brakes 1.
Set. Landing data.
Flaps 40, 128 knots.
V reference 128. Zibo 7378, altimeter 29er.74, contact Licenciado Benito Juarez INTL approach on 120.500. Expect runway 05 right to land, by. Minimums 273 set. Approach briefing.
Complete.
Complete. Descent checklist complete.
Altimeter 29.74. Contact Benito Juarez approach on 120.500. Expect runway 05 right to land. Zibo 7378. Okay, let's contact approach on 120.50. And let's make our initial call. Benito Juarez approach, Zibo 7378 at 17,000 feet.
Zibo 7378, maintain 17,000 feet.
Maintain 17,000 feet, Zibo 7378. Okay, let's turn towards our next waypoint.
Traffic.
We got a little traffic here.
Zibo 7378, descend to 15,000 feet.
Descend to 15,000 feet. Zibo 7378.
Zibo 7378, turn right heading 068.
Approaching transition.
Turn right heading 068. Zibo 7378.
1000 to level off.
1,000 to go.
Okay, let's turn towards our next waypoint. Okay, let's listen to the Mexico City ATIS.
Licenciado Benito Juarez INTL information Mike. 000 Zulu weather. Wind calm, RVR 3300, rain. Sky conditions indefinite overcast, temperature 14, dew point 19. Altimeter 2975. Arriving runway 05 right, departing runway 05 right. Advise on initial contact you have Mike.
Okay, we have Mike. Let's go back to approach on 120.50. Okay, let's slow down to 170 in preparation for our descent. Okay, let's turn towards our next waypoint.
Zibo 7378, descend to 10,300 feet.
Descend at 10,300 feet, Zibo 778.
Zibo 7378, turn right heading 181.
Turn right heading 181, Zibo 7378.
Good morning, November 174 Nova, climbing flight level 70, scooping 715 on runway heading. Requested,
Gear down.
Gear down.
Okay, speed brake is armed. Slow down to 160. And let's go flaps 15.
Flaps 15 set. 1,000 to level off.
1,000 to go.
Flaps 25.
Flaps 25 set.
Flaps 30. VREF plus
Flaps 30
5.
set. Ready for landing checklist.
Flaps 40. Turn on the windshield wipers. Back in the weather.
Flaps 40 set.
Okay, let's tune in the ILS 109.1 on nav 1. Set our course to 055. Select approach mode.
2500.
Okay, let's turn to a heading of 145. Turn to a heading of 090. Intercept the localizer.
Zibo 7378, turn left heading 062.
Turn left heading 062, Zibo 7378. That's arm approach mode.
Localizer capture.
Localizer capture. Set our heading knob to runway heading of 055.
Flight level 100. Landing lights switches on.
Landing checklist.
Glide slope capture.
Glide slope capture.
Landing checklist. Engine start switches
Continuous.
are not set in continuous position. I just set. Continuous. Speed brake.
Arm.
Zibo 7378, you are 1,000 feet below your clearance altitude, climb, and maintain 10,300 feet.
Armed. Landing gear.
Down.
Cabin crew, take your seats, prepare for landing.
Zibo 7378, cleared for ILS approach runway 05 right. Contact tower on 118.150 when established. Bye.
Down. Flaps.
Flaps 40.
Set for landing.
Cleared for ILS approach, runway 05 right.
Landing checklist
Contact
complete.
tower on 118.150 when established. Zibo 7378. Okay, we are established. Let's contact the tower on 118.150. And let's make our initial call. Mexico City Tower, Zibo 7378 with information Mike, approaching runway 05 right.
Zibo 7378, identified. Continue your approach. Zibo 7378, wind is calm, runway 05 right, clear to land.
1,000.
Clear to land.
Stabilized
Runway
Mexico
05 right.
City.
Zibo 7278.
Taxi lights on.
Okay, let's disengage the auto throttle. And let's maintain 133 knots. Runway in sight.
.500, clear to land runway 05 right.
400. Approaching minimums. 300. Minimum. 200. 100. 50. 40, 30, 20, 10.
Speed brake up. Reverse unlocked. Auto brake in use.
Zibo 7378, contact ground on 121.850.
Yet. Great landing. You are professional.
Contact ground on 121.850, Zibo 7278. Okay, let's tune in ground. Make our initial call. Mexico City Tower, Zibo 7378 on runway 05 right.
Zibo 7378, taxi to T1 gate 24.
Taxi to T1 gate 24, Zibo
upset.
7378. Okay, let's stop the timer. And we'll exit here off to the left. Landing lights off. Okay, let's look at our landing plots. See how we did on the landing. Oh, that's pretty good. 123 feet per minute. Pitch is 2.79 at first weight on wheels, 124 knots. Flare started at 30 feet, that's about perfect. Flare lasted 9.9 seconds. We throttled down about 12 feet, that's a little late. 1.5 Gs. Spent 2.87 seconds on the rear gear. Not bad. That concludes this video.